Hey, you guys, welcome to Alex and Andy Live. It is Thursday, I think, May 19th, 2022. We're coming to you live from Shanghai, China, as usual, which is currently slowly coming out of a nearly 2-month lockdown over novel coronavirus. As it is our 50th show today, we are going to be, celebrating hopefully with some good news, but we'll wait and see when we catch up with our colleague, Yang Jian. Now, coming up on today's show, just briefly, I'll fill you in on the latest details. 82 new symptomatic cases and 637 new asymptomatic cases. But the good news is that today is the 5th day in a row with 0 community cases, which is obviously a really awesome news. So public transportation in Shanghai is looking to slowly open up, starting from the 22nd. That will include 4 metro lines from the beginning, which will be Metro Lines 3, 6, 10, and 16, as well as 273 bus lines. As anticipated, people riding on those public transport options will need to produce a negative PCR test from the preceding, sorry, that's a typo, it should be 48 hours in order to get on board. Now, we had some interesting and scary footage that came in from Hangzhou. Metro Line 1 there was temporarily shut down yesterday due to a large amount of water that leaked into the Jinshan Lake station yesterday. That footage is pretty scary, kind of reminds me of the situation in Zhengzhou, Henan province last year. Obviously nowhere near as serious and no injuries, which is awesome to hear. Also, we had monkeypox warning. It doesn't end, does it, you guys? The World Health Organization issued an alert on Wednesday night, a warning that more cases of the monkeypox virus could be reported in Britain. Not good news. Because it's our 50th episode of our live stream tonight, we have a new series for you guys, which is called Away From Home. That's going to be over the next 5 nights. So the first episode will debut tonight, and we also have a new episode of Mental in Lockdown from our colleague Emma Leaning. Today she is dealing with happiness in lockdown, which is a nice change and I'm sure something we will all welcome. But anyway, without further ado, let's bring in my co-host Alex. Alex, how's it going?
All right, not bad. Another day. Was it 49 days in lockdown for us over here in Puxi? Of course, a lot of folks have been in for a bit longer than that, but yeah, we've hit 50 shows. I know that when we started doing this show, we never thought that we would get nearly this far with it, but
no way.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. let's ride this thing out.
Yeah, for sure. So as you guys know, we started the our live stream on the 28th of, would it be March? Yeah, 28th of March, was it? When Pudong went into lockdown. And of course, that's been longer than 50 days, but I think we've had about 3 or 4 evenings off. Alex, do you remember?
Like that, 3 or 4, I think.
Yeah, so that's why we're coming up to we're on our 50th show today. So yeah, I wonder how much longer we'll be doing it for. Hopefully not too much longer, not because I don't enjoy it, but because I'm sure everyone, including us, would love to get back out again into the big wide world. Hey, should we take a look at Shanghai Daily really quickly, the Shine website, Alex, and see the cases for today?
Okay.
Here's that graph. I'm sure a lot of people will be sick of this by now, but anyway, there it is. Today's cases. These numbers are for cases found inside lockdown areas. So these areas are under control. We had 637 asymptomatic and 82 symptomatic. That is going down as well. But I think the most important, obviously, is this 0 number. This is the number that's going to get Shanghai back on its wheels, back on track, so to speak, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, again, I guess the goal is to get both the numbers down to 0. We'll see how long that takes, but having 0 at the community level, meaning outside of quarantined and lockdown areas, the government has given that as one of the very key points in terms of when we'll be able to actually, gradually release lockdown to start the process of ending the lockdown. And the idea was to have it for 3 straight days. And I believe we're on 4 or 5 straight days of 0 at the community level now. And so that's good in terms of at least a signal that we're pointed in the right direction. Again, not sure how exactly the release of lockdown is going to look. It may not be as quick as a lot of us hope. but it has the sort of the gears have begun to turn in terms of moving in that direction. So at least we can have some hope because of that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's good to see, obviously, I'll bring that up, that public transportation is going to slowly start gearing up on the 22nd. We're the 19th today, so I think, is it this Sunday, maybe? But I'm interested to see why at the moment they're starting it with just these 4 lines. Alex, do you see any significance just by looking with lines 3, 6, 10, and 16? Do you reckon it's just because they cover the most varied areas, or what?
Yeah, I'm thinking because as I sort of map it out in my head, line 3 goes from southwest up to northeast and then hits north. 10 kind of cuts down to this way, and then 16 is down. Yeah, I don't know. I guess but I'm not really sure. We'll have to ask Yan Jian, but I guess because those 4 lines do kind of crisscross the city, but it doesn't hit everyone that needs it. I mean, I'm not close to any of those lines personally myself, and so I'm not really sure what the rationale behind that is, but I guess we can try and figure that out.
Yeah, we can ask Yang Dian, but before we bring him in, I kind of want to see.
Yeah, we can have a look. So line 3 is the yellow one. Well, if we can get a good. Okay.
Come on.
So
there we go.
All right. So line 3 is zoom out a little bit more. Line 3 is the yellow one there that kind of runs from southwest up around and then to the northeast. And then line 6 is that sort of fuchsia colored one on the far right on the east. It's entirely in Pudong. And it does cross the river. But line 10 is that sort of lavender colored one that you see. It starts over by Hongqiao Railway Station, and then goes
there we go.
And then goes to the east, and then up around into the northeast. And then 16 is that sort of this
one here,
bright pale green one down there in the southeastern corner that goes way down to Dishui Lake. And I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure the rationale behind the opening of which lines. But I don't know. Maybe we can ask Yan Jian. I can only speculate. So,
actually, well, no. Why don't we bring him in now? We'll bring in Yang Jian now and see what he has to say about it, because I'm sure he's been following this morning. So here is Yang Jian from Shanghai Daily.
Hello.
Hi. Hello, Andy. Hi, Alex.
Hey, so Yan Jian, I wanted to just ask you a question about what we were just talking about the metro station and the public transportation. Obviously, the big news is that the trains are getting back on track, so to speak. But can you give me a little bit of detail about that, and why have they just chosen 4 metro lines to get started with?
And I think you're right. Because the line 3 is the south-north line and running across the downtown districts, and the metro line 10 is the east-west line. And the vice mayor just said these are the artery lines that covering most part of the downtown areas. So that is the main reason that the 4 lines has been chosen. And more details, the vice mayor said it will be it is actually the first time that the city's cross-district transport has been restored since the lockdown from late March. And currently, citizens are at most allowed to move around within their districts or sub-districts. And many people might still have to stay within their neighborhood compounds. But with the announcement today, Sunday will be much anticipated because it is like a soft opening for the overall open up of the city and its public transport system. So more people will be allowed to go out from their neighborhoods and take the initially opened metro lines and buses for the trial operation. And just like you said, the 4 lines has been chosen from the city's 20 lines, and there are some other very important reasons. The first is Metro Line 3 stops at both the Shanghai Railway Station and the Shanghai South Railway Station, and the Line 10, as you mentioned, has stops at the Hongqiao International Airport and the Hongqiao Railway Station, and the reason for Line 6 and 16 is they have 2 very important metro transfer stations, the Longyang Road Station and the Century Avenue Station. And from Longyang Road, air travelers can take an airport shuttle bus to reach the Pudong International Airport directly. So, like the Vice Mayor said, with these 4 lines and other supportive bus lines, citizens are expected to reach the transport hubs, hospitals, and commercial hubs. And so there are also 217 bus lines to reopen from Sunday, and most of them have stops near the metro stations for passengers to transfer. And a detailed list of these reopened bus lines will be publicized by the district government soon. And I just received a list from Hongkou district this afternoon. And it includes the airport line 4 to the Pudong Airport and between the Hongkou Football Stadium, and several lines to the stations of the Metro Line 3 and 10, and over a dozen of others which stops at the major city-level hospitals, such as the Shanghai General Hospital and the Shanghai Nice People's Hospital. So, like the official said, there are 3 main purposes of this restored metro bus lines. And the first is to make it more convenient for citizens to go to hospitals, because most city-level hospitals have reopened, but currently people can only book taxis with the help of the neighborhood committee or subdistrict. And the second, as I mentioned, is to make travelers to reach the airports and the railway stations more easily. And the third, and most importantly, the Vice Mayor said the city is to create a healthier travel system with venue codes, buffer zones, and this temperature check and code scanning machines to be deployed everywhere that can respond to any emergency incidents like the coronavirus. And like Andy said, every passenger must have a negative PCR report made within 48 hours and must scan the venue code on each bus, metro station, and metro carriage. And the resumption of taxi services still under studies, but taxi reservation has been restored at 5 outlying districts as a pressure test for the downtown area. And but for downtown residents, currently sharing bikes remain the key transport for them for those who are allowed to go outside. And the sharing bike companies said the usage of these bikes has been increased by over 80% in the past 2 weeks. But the Vice Mayor said today that the city's public and intercity transport services will be fully restored as soon as the pandemic is thoroughly stabilized. And he said it might be less than what residents expected, but please be patient, and because Shanghai will optimize the transport arrangements in a timely manner. Andy.
Excellent, Yang Jian. Thank you so much for that detailed update on the Shanghai public transportation system. We look forward to chatting with you again tomorrow. See you then.
Okay.
Thank you.
A lot of information again, Alex. The awesome thing about Yang Jian is he's so thorough, but there's so much in there. I noticed, and I've just put a note on the screen, that he said there'll be taxis resuming in 5 outlying districts, not in the city centre. So people in the city centre, if you're wanting to get around, will just use bike share, which makes sense. But also I noticed, he agreed that with the subway lines that are opening up, they are kind of arterial routes that go north, south, east, west. And then there's 273 accompanying bus lines that are opening up. So it sounds to me as if they're trying to keep numbers of people altogether down. So hopefully they're hoping people will, use the buses, and then that's what, 15, 20 people in case something goes wrong. What do you reckon?
Yeah. Yan Jian has just said that taxis downtown are available only for medical resources and must be arranged by the sub-districts. But yeah, I think you're right. I think that they're just trying to keep the flow of people down, at least for now. We'll see how that works. I mean, I'm not sure, I'm not sure how that's going to translate onto people. For example, if people need to start going back to work, if people are allowed to do that. Obviously, we're going to have to see. It's going to take time to figure out which businesses are allowed to reopen when. But, if there are, for example, I'll just use myself as an example. I rely on one of the other lines that isn't open in order to get to work. And I couldn't do it if there were no taxi and that particular line that I use to get to work were unavailable. It'd be difficult for me to get there. And I'm sure that's true for a lot of people. In fact, I don't live that far away from the office, but I know a lot of people really do live quite a long way away from their workplace. And so, if you're along one of those 4 subway lines, well, fantastic. But if you're not, you still sort of have to figure out what you might be able to do. No word on that just yet, or sort of the time frame of that.
Yeah, but I did notice an interesting thing, which is that, Yang Jian said the main purpose of this transportation opening up at the moment with just 4 lines and things is to serve people who need to go to hospital. So it doesn't look like, they were saying, Shanghai is going to open up again, back to normal from the 1st of June. Well, the opening of the public transportation from the 22nd looks to be not in relation to things going quote unquote back to normal. I think it's still very much a lockdown, at least until the 1st of June. I think that's probably a fair reading of what Yang Jian said. What do you reckon?
Right. I think, we talk about what it means to go quote unquote back to normal. And, I've just sort of expressed that for me back to, just being able to go to the supermarket and to a convenience store or to a bank, and that's it, is not back to normal. So I think for me, back to normal involves all of the public transportation systems being back reopened and everyone going back to work. That would be back to normal for me, even if we can't go to the water park yet or go to a crowded football game or concert yet. I understand that those are going to be some of the last things that come back, but we haven't really been able to do that too much, at least since the pandemic began. But if it's good to see that we've gone from 0% to 25%, give or take, or 20% or whatever it is of the public transportation system in operation again. But until it's 100, I would hesitate to call it normal. But we'll see when that can happen.
Yeah, we'll see. Hey, but interesting note now, but just for me personally, we've been locked down nearly 2 months. So before, like this place I live, you were talking about the distance from work. The place I live now, I purposefully chose a place that's 3 kilometers from the workplace because I wanted to walk to work and then home every day, to keep in shape or whatever. And I thought maybe it was keeping my weight down or something. But now with these 2 months stuck at home and no walking every day, I actually have lost weight and not put on any weight at all. So now I'm starting to kind of wonder if I even need to walk to work anymore. Maybe I could shift to somewhere closer to work. I don't know. What do you reckon, Alex? Is walking any use?
I think it definitely is. And, I think that for me personally, I live within 3 kilometers of the office, or just about that far away. So I could do it too. The only problem for me is that, just with the way Shanghai weather usually is, in the winter, it's usually bitterly cold and I don't want to walk to work in the morning. And in the summer, it's just sticky hot and I don't want to walk to work in the morning. So the times when I would be on days like now, right, where it's nice. Obviously, but that's not an option because we're not going in there. But yeah, I don't know. I have found that I haven't lost a single pound or kilo because I've been drinking a lot of Coca-Cola, which doesn't help. My fiance is an excellent cook, and we've had enough food more or less throughout this entire thing. And so I haven't lost any weight. I've probably gained it just from the lack of moving around. But yeah, Andy. I think Andy might be breaking up. We had some connectivity issues. I hope it's not me, because see if we can figure out how to get him back. But we've got some good information there from Yang Jian about the reopening of the metro stations. Right, it's a good thing to see, at least even if it is only a minor step. It just seems like in our quest to get back to normal that we're going to have to just be taking it step by step. We got you back, Andy?
I think so. I just switched to my cell phone data, but I was just on Wi-Fi 5G, and nothing I do, honestly, will produce a wending. How do you say wending in English?
Stable.
Stable. Nothing produces a reliable, stable line. Yeah, no matter what I do, nothing produces a stable a live stream that's not uninterrupted. It's so annoying. Anyway,
it's touch and go. I mean, I think I found that when everyone is at home in the building, it also slows down the speed of the internet building. and in residential buildings anyway. So, and plus, right now, obviously, it's prime time.
Oh, now I think Alex is cut out.
People to be watching some shows
or
doing whatever they're doing. So, anyway, it's all right. We'll get through it. I'm here.
Can you hear me, Alex? Oh, you're here.
Anyway, let's.
Okay.
Yeah, I got you.
What I'll do is I'll play a video, because hopefully it's just a problem with something that we'll fix in the next couple of minutes. So, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I've got you.
Oh, sweet. So the video I'm going to play now, you guys, is Away from Home. It's the new series that we've put together with Shanghai Daily. Obviously not us, we're stuck at home, but our colleagues are out and about capturing these stories, these really unique stories of Shanghai during this lockdown. So today we're going to head to the Shibei substation of the Shanghai Medical Emergency Center, and we followed an ambulance crew to see how they're coping under these unique and trying circumstances. So let's check that out now, and we'll come back and have a chat.
肚子痛不痛啊？我在忙场，那个嘴巴里面的东西，它有没有呕东西出来啊？我不是问地址啊，我是说病人是哪里不舒服啊？
情况导致报听的，导致报，您客户聊了。
伤成什么样子了？有破口吗？我120的啊，我们已经开过来了，你稍微等一下啊。徐汇又跑回静安，然后再到杨浦啊，一个晚上整个上海睡晚觉，好像逛完整个大上海的一样。穿上防护服之后，人感觉特别的不方便，无论是呼吸啊、行动啊，还是打针啊，做一些操作啊，都是非常的不方便。等一下，我马上到啊！好嘞。对，阿拉已经来路高头了。已经来了。病人主要就是一个发热加上血糖高，引起了一个意识不清状态。他血糖现在已经高到我们血机器血糖已经透出来了，高于33.3，所以这个病人算是一个比较危重的状态，而且他血压还是偏低的状态，血压才有90的60。意识不清，对，还有发热39度，对。我们到的时候呢，这个病人呢就处于一种比较烦躁的状态。这种病人一般都是要就近送院的，而且这个病人是发热的状态。我们到了。别动。手不要动。医生这里有抗瘀啊。我看到了。慢点等一下我拉好他。在疫情开始之前啊，就是没有那么多注册需求的时候啊，不会像现在这个样子，就是连轴转。痛啊？哪里痛啊？脚痛是吧？然后痛着，然后他就没声音了。根据他们家属这个描述啊，很有可能就是心跳跟呼吸已经没有了。
我不是说多么个的，把这一个。多么个的，多么个的，对，多么个的，多么个。摸紧，好，也是摸就背。1、2、好。
这种在行动了，睡觉是这样的味道，之后胸部淋上爽了，得帮他配服都没有。
疫情爆发的特别厉害，然后现在呢，不确定性太多了。痛得厉害吧？剧烈吧？一阵的。哎呦我的！走廊这一块的东西把它收起来，两个手抱着自己的下腹。好，来。别，没把侬讲。 没劲啊，好，走。运动量很大，大喘气之后，它这个面屏很容易一下子就起雾了。再来。可以。现在感觉到里面肚子里面有在动啊。
我现在平躺的，好像还好吧。
还好，然后再拉起来，不然的话下雨会淋到它。就对120的需求啊，非常大的。哎，阿姨。哦，你好，我这边120的啊，我问一下，大概什么情况呀？是吧？家里面有抗原吗？救护车这边把它抗原做一下就好了，好吧？能到月历下也要走。有时候就会有碰到报120的，他没办法说清楚到底自己哪里不好啊，或者说到哪家医院啊，或者说什么情况呀，他讲不清楚。我问一下，就是小朋友现在人情况怎么样呢？清楚吧？还在哭闹呢，还是怎么说？他对他下来。家里面核酸报告啊，最后一次是几号的？送新华儿科对吧？
制定就有这块东西，他要不停的去分析这一个就是他的家里面的关系情况，然后这个病人的状态还有这个场景，这个场景下我该做什么能对病人起到最大的作用，是急救医生，然后或者说整个车组他需要的一个能力。
平时神志清楚的吧？神志清楚的啊。好呀。好了。你跟他讲话呀。我不能吃啊！我这些人都要进过去了。是吧？那小人要喝了。要吃啊！不要紧。你要吃毛子不要讲，你要吃毛子听到啊！你要多吃啊！来，报1161的啊，然后我这边防护服快到4个小时了，我想请求一下到江湾站脱衣服，然后车辆取消。078。对。疫情开始之后呢，就没有这个情况了，就一直就是坐在车上，从晚上8点钟一直坐到第二天早上8点钟。好的，那你稍微等一下，我马上上啊。
Well, tough look there at the situation for just one of the medical teams currently working here in Shanghai during this really tough time. Obviously, very unique situations there that might not otherwise come up. I just want to thank our team, mainly Jack Zhou Shen there, who shot this video, and it was edited by Da Fei. Thank you guys so much. Alex, what did you think?
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on there. I think obviously they're extremely busy. I think maybe obviously some staff might be unavailable because they're dealing with the whole COVID situation. Obviously, a lot of the people that we see wearing AMAX suits are volunteers. Obviously, these folks are not, they're professionals. But I think a few things, just a couple of thoughts, and I wonder what you think about this, Andy. I think the first one is that I think a lot of times during this sort of situation where people are locked in their homes or people are locked in their areas, the sort of the problems that they might encounter might be a little bit different, right? You're going to have obviously a lot fewer things like traffic accidents and stuff like that. People out and about riding a bike and having an accident like that would require an ambulance. But you're going to have a whole different slew of problems that might occur. You're going to have, home injuries, somebody cutting themselves on something with a knife or something that they have in their home by mistake, or something like that. So I think you're going to see, with people spending all their time in their houses, you'll see just a sort of a different type of medical condition that would result in calling an ambulance. And I think the other thing is I think that I think people will just be more likely to call an ambulance for something that under normal circumstances it would be easy for them to just walk or take some other mode of transportation to get to the hospital. They'll say, you know what, it's a pain to do that right now. If I'm even allowed to do that right now, I don't even know how I'd get a car to get to the hospital. I'm just going to call the ambulance. right? And so
Right.
think
Yeah. I never thought of
probably
that.
happening a lot. And in China, people, at least compared to where I'm from, I mean, I think the situation is different in New Zealand, but in the U.S., stuff like that, if you don't have the proper insurance, can be really, really expensive. And so a lot of times people don't want to call ambulances for any reason. They'll drive themselves to the hospital while they're bleeding. It's crazy. But in China, the ambulance is affordable. And so at least compared to where I come from, people in China are very, very quick to call an ambulance for things that me growing up, I was like, you don't need to call
You'd
an
be like,
ambulance. Oh my God, call the ambulance. I'm just like, what? But,
too expensive.
You know what I mean, Andy?
Yeah, I do. It's a bit different in New Zealand. I think the situation in the US, obviously, with the medical insurance and stuff, healthcare, that's a whole nother show. But in New Zealand, yeah, the ambulances are pretty affordable as well. But we still wouldn't call. We have 111 in China. Of course, it's 120 for the ambulance. But it's very serious, so you wouldn't call them for little issues, even in New Zealand. And it's not to do with the cost. It's just that it's seen as more of a serious thing. So yeah, but I totally agree with your view there that probably they're getting way more calls now than they would for things they wouldn't normally get calls for. Obviously, also some really serious situations, like we just saw in that video. Someone really tragically passed away, which has got to be tough, not only for the family, but also these guys. And also Jack, our colleague, went along. I'm sure he didn't expect he would see somebody pass away during the filming. So yeah, tough times.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. It's not just people that are calling for I'm not going to say a hangnail, obviously that's a joke, but people that are calling for sort of things that they might otherwise normally not call an ambulance for. If we had complete freedom of movement right now, they just find a way to get there themselves and not take up the ambulance. But I think that there's also a lot of really important situations and sort of emergency situations like we've seen in this video. And kudos to the doctors and the EMT rescuers really working hard there, despite the difficulty that they're in. I mean, obviously they're struggling during the lockdown as well, and this isn't what they wanted to see either, because it's making their jobs a lot harder too.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely, very tough. Andrea Matthews says, being here so long, I guess in China, I've used the ambulance twice. Really good service here. I've never used the ambulance myself, but I have called the ambulance twice, and both times they come really, really fast. So awesome to see. But yeah, as you said before, that's not happening at the moment because we're all under lockdown, and a lot of people are calling them. As you see in the video here, they just went from job to job all over the city. So I'm assuming, and I don't know, but I'm assuming normally they would just stay in one district. But as we see in this video, they traverse the whole city during the space of one evening. So it could be, as you said before, Alex, there's just some people that can't get to work, some of the ambulance officers. Also, these guys will all be under what we call closed loop management, which means since they're outside in the big wide world, they can't go back, they can't go home. So there's a lot of people, maybe they're doing like Shanghai Daily is doing, which is we have a core crew sleeping in the office, and after a month went by, they swapped. So maybe these guys are doing a similar thing. I don't know.
It seems possible, right? So they're probably sleeping either in the hospital or in some other medical facility. They probably got some sort of little makeshift dormitory area set up for them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
I'll read it. It seems like the whole healthcare system in the United States is more about making a profit than treating the patient. Well, I will agree with that, but I don't want to make this a show about the politics of the United States or politics of any country. I'm not going to get into that. This is not about my political views or anything.
Yes,
I'll just leave it there. I agree with you.
Sweet. Hey, we have another comment here, which I know you have an opinion on, Alex. Where was it? There we go. Now this is in traditional script, so I'll try my best. 中国如果像西方躺平，麻死200万个人。So they're saying if China relaxed with COVID like the West, then he estimates about 2 million people would die. Alex, I know you don't agree.
I don't agree with that statement. I think that that's complete speculation and conjecture. I think that there really isn't any validated medical data that says that. I think some people would die, and I'm not suggesting that we do that. I'm not suggesting that that we do that. I'm not speculating on whether we will do that. I'm not prescribing that or the opposite or anything at all. I'm just saying I think that that's speculative. I think that a lot of that data basically is using data for other countries that didn't have for different strains of COVID that were probably more deadly during times with different, maybe pre-vaccine times. And a lot of this sort of stuff I've seen about that is taking blanket numbers and slapping them onto China's population. And this many people, I just think that that's not scientific or helpful in any way in terms of dealing with the reality of the situation. It's just, to me, that's, and maybe, but I think that's a bit more of a scare tactic than I'm comfortable with. But that's just the way I see it.
Yeah, no, like you said, there's so many different factors coming into the equation, not just the different strains. You're taking data from different countries with different cultures, different policies, different strains, different times, and trying to use that, to come up with some sort of number. So I don't know the answer, obviously. All I know is that either way, there's going to be people that are unhappy. Either way, there's going to be people who are frustrated, people who are suffering. And what I mean is zero COVID with harsh lockdowns like we're seeing here in Shanghai. Obviously, a lot of people are frustrated. A lot of people are unhappy. A lot of people are going through tough times. And on the other side, you could open up fully and then you're going to have a lot of other problems. So there's no easy way out of this situation, basically.
Yeah, that's right. No, I'm not saying that there wouldn't be, people get severely sick or people, unfortunately, people who pass away. But I think just to slap huge numbers on it and to say, well, if we didn't, I don't know. I don't think that that's productive or constructive. I think that we have to be a lot more scientific with our approach than just to say big, scary numbers.
For sure. And this is why, because it's so complicated, this is why I've just kind of stopped. It's like, whatever, because I live in China, whatever China decides to do, that is what I'll do. I'm no expert in any way. I don't have the time to read all these, conflicting reports and everything to come up with my own opinion. All I know is that there's no easy way out. And either way, it's going to be tough. So I guess you could call that tongue ping, but I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you follow the rules and the laws of the country that you live in, right? And if you don't like the rules and laws in the country, you can go to another country. I mean, it's really as simple as that. I mean, there's no. I feel like I don't even need to say that. That's just is what it is. So we're gonna have to follow the rules here, and some people may end up leaving, and then they can follow the rules of whatever place they go to. But that's just the way it. I mean, I don't feel like I'm saying anything controversial by saying that. I think everyone should understand that. So.
It shouldn't be controversial at all to say that, but I think at the moment a lot of people may take it as controversial. But I agree. Like I've said to people, if you really have that much of a trouble following the COVID zero policy, lucky you are from another country, you have another passport, you can go home or go wherever you want. That's awesome. And I'm not saying it in a rude way. I'm just saying you've got choices. You know what I mean? As for me, literally, I'm happy either way. I've never really thought about leaving under this situation. A lot of people have asked me. Of course, the lockdowns are, there's a lot of uncertainty. I don't want to go through another 2 months lockdown, but at the same time, we have to do what we have to do. Yeah. Anyway, this is a lovely view of Lujiazui. Let's admire the view.
Yeah, it's nice. It always is nice. It's always an excellent view, really shiny. Bright lights, colorful, looking real rainbow today, which is good to see. Loving it. Can't wait until we can actually get back out there and enjoy it. We were talking about this a few shows ago about how, there's a lot of places like this is taken from the Bund, and the Bund is a huge tourist spot. But being somebody who's lived in the city for a bunch of years, I don't just go down there just to walk around. I'm not a tourist, right? But it's funny. Seeing all these shots of it and pictures and views and videos and all these different things kind of makes me, knowing that I actually can't go there right now, kind of makes me want to go back. I think I'm going to kind of rediscover some parts of the city I haven't been to in a long time once we're allowed back out.
Yeah, I mean, and I've seen on Shine, on our website, shine.cn for Shanghai Daily, we have a new series. Actually, it's not really a series. Let me bring it up. It's a video we did called After Lockdown is Lifted, I Want To. And it's funny, you mentioned the Bund and everything. I haven't thought about it yet, but I don't know what I'll do when the lockdown's lifted, to be completely honest. What about you, Alex?
I don't know either. I think, the first thing I'll do is, the first things I'm going to want to do are the things that I normally do. I'm going to want to go out to some of my favorite restaurants. I'm going to want to go and hang out with some of my friends that I haven't seen in weeks and weeks and weeks. I'm going to want to go to my favorite pub and throw some darts and stuff like that. The stuff that I enjoy doing. I'm going to want to go to my favorite park and have a jog in there, stuff like that. And then, once those needs are met, then I think I will start to, go check out some museums or the Bund or some, sort of famous or more interesting sights and sounds around town that maybe normally I would have just said, whatever, I don't really need to go there or do that, or I've been there before, whatever. But I think I might sort of rediscover some of those places, or maybe check out some museums or some shows, things that, that I might ordinarily have not done. I might take it, when given the chance to do that again, then I think I might take it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to think about it because I don't know. Hey, we have a comment here from Phoenix who says, I highly doubt after this ordeal they're going to do a full lockdown like this again in Shanghai. That I'm sure they're going to try their best not to have to do another full lockdown, but that's going to mean tougher restrictions. I think if we have to lock down again, we have to lock down again. There's no two ways about it. But I agree one step back from what you're saying, and that I don't think they'll allow the cases to get as high as they did before, as opposed to that they won't do another lockdown. If the cases were as high as they were before, they would just have to lock down, I think. What do you reckon, Alex?
I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll see what the dynamic policy really means for the future. So I'm not really sure. We'll have to see. I hope that they won't do it again. I hope that they won't feel that they need to do it again. But I obviously can't guarantee. I don't make the decision.
I think all that's going to happen is we're going to have really tough restrictions, so that they don't have to do it again, to be honest. So as you see with the 48-hour COVID testing, to use the subway. We never had checks at the metro here in Shanghai for the last 2 years. We never had checks for COVID results.
We had temperature. I said we had temperature checks. They've had the little temperature all over the place.
Right.
So basically, since, and everyone who's living in Shanghai knows this, since the start of COVID, the pandemic in 2020, after the original sort of lockdown and sort of the wave that, it wasn't really that bad here in Shanghai. Some people did get it, and some people had to quarantine, but it wasn't anything like now, because that version of the virus wasn't as transmissible, as we all know. In any case, we have had things like temperature checks, and we have had green health codes that have to stay green, and sometimes we'll need to scan or just show them to the people in different buildings. Not everywhere, but I think once we open up, we're going to find a whole different bear in terms of having to jump through hoops to go places.
I think so. Yeah, it's definitely going to be the way. And who knows if it will be like Shenzhen, where it lasted for a little while after their outbreak, and then kind of relaxed a little bit. We'll cross our fingers. Hey, there's another comic here in tradition.
Go ahead, Andy. My bad.
No, you go ahead.
I was just saying, I do know someone in Shenzhen. I do know someone in Shenzhen, and he was telling me that they did when they had a lockdown. It didn't last as long as this one, obviously. They got out. They had to do some, different PCR testing and health, but then it kind of just went back to normal, more or less. So, yeah, hopefully that's what happens here. Anyway, what was the comment?
Fingers crossed. I've got another comment up, actually. This is from Rita 2021. I had been working in the EU until last year. I wasn't happy how they handled the pandemic, so I quit my job and came back to China, where I feel much safer and less stressed. Yeah, I mean, there's two sides of the coin. A lot of foreigners, sorry, Rita, I'm just assuming you're a foreigner. I'm not sure. But a lot of foreigners, it's either one side of the coin. They'll find the zero COVID policy too restrictive, but others will find it makes them feel safer and less stressed. So, yeah, just depends where you fall. But I guess the stressed or unsafe part wasn't really a factor before this Shanghai lockdown for a lot of people. So I think the tides have changed a little bit for a lot of people. But I'll bring up that other comment. This is a really awesome comment, if it's what I think it says, but it's in traditional. Andy 是外国人中是难得吗？难得的明白人，难得。I think so. I haven't studied traditional Chinese.
Neither have I. Is that? Yeah, I think.
I think it is. I'm guessing. Andy 是外国人中难得的明白人。Panda or Hujun, are you watching? I think it is. If that's what it means, thank you. It means no, I don't want to translate it because it's 太嘚瑟了，我不要说了。But 谢谢。Kevin James Ing says, or why not visit the Shanghai filming historical locations for the Chinese drama The Rebel? I've never seen that. Have you seen that, Alex?
No, but like it's different things like that, things that I may not have made time to do, or places I may not have made time to go previously, where I just said, oh, I'll just I'll stay home tonight or whatever. Instead of, I might say, you know what, hey, once we get back the rights to actually get out and go places, that I think I might actually take advantage of that more than I did previously.
That just a song came into my head when you said that. Go places. Is there a song that's like go places I've never been? There must be. Anyway, I can't put it. I can't get it. I'm off track. Let's get back to the video. I reckon we should play Emma's new video.
Yeah, I want to see it.
Where is the details? Yeah. I have a little card here. So yeah, she's talking about the search of happiness in lockdown. And I saw a part of the video before where she's talking about not feeling guilty if you feel happy, because a lot of people are feeling so upset. So I think that might be of use to me, because sometimes, like actually last night, a friend, a Chinese friend in Wuhan messaged me, and he was like, are you being honest on social media? And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, I've got heaps of other friends in Shanghai and they're complaining every day, but all of your posts are like, not complaining, they're kind of positive, and like, are you just lying? And I was like, no, I don't really have much to complain about. So this video might be of some use. Let's check it out, and then we'll have a chat.
Let's see it.
I've just had a very happy chat with Sharon Yen, a psychologist at Shanghai United Family, about happiness in lockdown, why it matters, why you shouldn't feel guilty for happiness, and how to create it. Enjoy. How are you?
I'm doing great.
You wanted to talk about finding happiness in lockdown. Why is it so important now?
Even if we don't feel depressed, even if we don't feel anxious, it doesn't mean that we feel happy. If we lost that feeling for a long period of time, the first thing we might lose would be like what we call the executive function, like the ability to plan, the ability to regulate our emotions, and the ability to reward ourselves. And then we start kind of like lost motivations to do things. And I feel like the most extreme cases would be, what's the point for keeping alive?
How do we find happiness in lockdown?
I feel like sometimes we need to live with the uncertainty. Right now, the situation is we do not know when the lockdown will end. And if we focus too much on the things that we cannot control, it will only increase our anxiety level. So I would like to introduce a concept named the circle of influence. Like basically we live in a life with two circles. The first circle would be the circle of concerns. It's basically like the things we concern, and it could affect us a lot, affect our daily life and even well-being, but we do not have control over it. The second circle would be the circle of influence, which we can decide, we have power, we have control over the things. So I feel like a lot of people may feel super anxious because they just want to focus on the things they cannot control. I'll give you an example. My friend, she told me that she has been wanting to study and preparing for the upcoming exam, a very exam for her. However, she doesn't have time to do that. And during the lockdown, when everything slows down, it's a perfect time for her.
You had some videos that you wanted to share with me.
This video is just I found on the internet.
Hey, so as some of you guys might know, I'm a music teacher, and I found that one of the best ways that I can process the whole transition to online learning and teaching is to write a song. So I wrote a song. I'd like to share that with you guys now. Here we go.
Oh, that really tickled me, Sharon. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. We still don't know when the lockdown will end, but we as an individual, we can increase our influences of circle and to give everybody hope and joyful moment in their life.
Thank you so much. You've certainly made a very happy start to my day, Sharon.
My pleasure.
Alex, what did you think?
A really good video, just like all of. I think, yeah, it's important to. I think sort of what I got us focusing on the things that you can control. I think that's a really important thing. Some people are control freaks, and this is, oh my gosh, I'm here. Some people are control freaks. I'm just going to go ahead and hopefully you can hear me, and are going to have a tougher time than others with this sort of situation. And there are a lot of things that you can't control right now and that you can't plan and prepare for. And so I think, not let go, but kind of divert your time to do other things. Maybe take care of some things that maybe you didn't have time to take care of before. I think that's really good advice. I've been having a little bit of trouble doing that. I think for the first few weeks of lockdown, I was able to kind of use some of the time I had, not going to the office or not going out and hanging out with my friends or doing whatever sort of social things at night to kind of catch up on things that I was had been procrastinating on, be they hobbies or reading a book or maybe something for anything, right? Any sort of life administrative thing I needed to do. But I think, as this is dragging into the 40th and 50th day, I think my efficiency is dipping a bit. I'm getting a little bit exhausted between the four walls of my apartment. So I understand if anyone's having a little bit of trouble doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, I find it actually, with all this time we have, it's really hard to read books and stuff. Like before, you would find some time in the evening after work before you go to bed to maybe read a book or something. But now that I have all the time in the world, I just can't do it, and I don't get it. It has nothing to do with this video, but yeah, I find it quite weird. So it's good that people are recommending TV dramas and stuff to watch. Can you see that, Alex? The Three Kingdoms is readily available in subbed for foreigners, like me. However, sadly, I forgot the name, but there are subs missing for another famous series based on the Warring States period. But yeah, look, it lacks subs. Yeah, there's plenty of stuff, especially if you want to learn Mandarin. You can check out a lot of these shows, Chinese shows, which are pretty awesome for learning that sort of stuff. And some of them, even though based, I'll go ahead.
No, I was saying, I think about the shows. I think if you're wanting to beef up your Chinese level, I think that the shows that are sort of based in the ancient past and the dynastic era of China are actually not the best for that. If you want to just watch an interesting, historically based show with some action in it and stuff, that's great. I think if you want to beef up your Chinese, and shows are one of the absolute best ways to do that, because obviously it's actual conversation and it's stuff that you could use in your real dialogue, not something that people said 800 years ago. I think you just use regular dramas and sitcoms and things like that. And you can learn proper conversational. This is the way that Chinese people actually speak to each other, not like some weird bookish stuff or some ancient, it's fun to watch it. But if you're actually looking at it to try and improve your Chinese, which is a great thing to do during this lockdown. And I have spent a little bit of time doing it, not as much as I should have. But yeah, I would say more sort of modern set conversational shows are better.
Yeah, I actually agree. And I know what you mean by modern, because you're contrasting it with those, like Warring States period and stuff like that. But actually, I like kind of the 70s or 80s ones
that's modern.
Yeah. Like non-twin, like village dramas. I find those really awesome for conversational. I love watching people arguing. I think arguing is the best way to one of the best ways to learn Chinese. In fact, one of my first Mandarin teachers said to me, once you can argue in Mandarin, you've really made it. So I like to watch those shows to kind of catch up on the drama and figure out how to not 骂人, but a lot of the times on the streets. Like if I'm in a bad mood, because there's a lot of people in China who, blatantly go against the road rules quite dangerously sometimes. Oftentimes you just have to ignore it. Like if you're walking along on the footpath, a car will just cut in front of you and like really dangerously like cut you off or whatever. Usually I'm just like, whatever. But sometimes I use it as a way to kind of sharpen my tongue, mind the pun. And it's your voice useful.
Yeah.
I hope no one films me because so many things go viral these days.
That's true.
And I'm worried if someone films me and I look unreasonable, it would not be a good thing.
I'm just very briefly, I remember this is several years ago, and I was at a pizza restaurant, and I was there during the afternoon, and there was nobody else there but me, but my friends and I, and there were 5 or 6 of us, and we had ordered a whole lot of drinks and several pizzas, and had spent quite a bit of money over the course of about 3 or 4 hours, and we were playing a board game, a long, involved board game. All of us were playing, and we had been there for 3 hours and change. And then finally the shop owner comes out and is like, no more games, you have to go. And there was no one else in the store. We weren't causing any problems. And we had spent 3 hours working on this really involved game. And I was like, excuse me. And I ended up having a pretty big shouting match with her. But I will say, this is several years ago. My friends whose Chinese it wasn't quite on that level were pretty impressed with my ability to kind of shout and yell at this woman for a while. Yeah, but she was a stinker. Let's just put it that way. Anyway,
there are people like that. I want to keep on this topic because there's this market. Have you been there? A lot of foreigners go there. It's at the Science and Technology Museum. Have you been there?
Okay, so I know what you're talking about, and I've walked through it, but I've never actually gone shopping there.
Oh, honestly, before the pandemic, it was mainly foreigners, tourists, not locals, who would go there to buy stuff. So you can very easily get ripped off. They'll give you some crap that's going to break a day later, and they hope, they would have left Shanghai by then and they can't come back. But I went there to buy, because I find it hard to buy certain things like shoes and stuff that are big enough. So I went out there and bought, I bought underwear that time. And then when I took them back, because they said to me, obviously you can't try them on because it's underwear. So I said to her, I don't know if this is the right size. And she was like, it's the right size. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I bought like 5 pairs. You can buy 5 pairs for like 100 kwai. Went home. They were all the same size. Tried one on. They didn't fit. Oh, she said to me, bring them back if they're the wrong size. Then I went back with the other 4 that I hadn't tried on. And I was like, I don't want a refund or anything. I just want to swap them. And she just didn't even look at me. And she goes, you didn't buy it here. And I was like, you beep. And she had 2 tourists there that were considering buying something. And I was like, you haven't even looked, this is all in Mandarin. You haven't even looked at my face. How can you say I didn't buy it here? And she was like, I know you didn't buy it here. And then she says, show me your receipt then. She knows they don't give you receipts there. But anyway, what I did was I went into my Alipay and I found the payment. And she was like, no, you can't. And she was just a real bee. So I said to those foreigners, I was like, oh, wow, you guys might want to reconsider buying something here because she's trying to rip me off. She went mental and she started screaming at me. We had this huge screaming match and all these people were standing around filming it, foreigners. But it was just like after I left, because then she called the police in, she called the security guards, came in, and we were like screaming. Yeah. And then I was like, I'm not leaving. I'm sick of these people ripping people off. They think that I'm going to, I'm going to leave Shanghai and then they've made, even though it's 100 kwai, it's the point, it's not the money itself. But anyway, the point of this whole thing was, this was when I when I was just about to graduate from Fudan. So it was about 5 years ago, but I was like really impressed after that. And I felt a little more confident in my Chinese. So if you're learning Chinese, go and argue with people.
It's a level up sort of thing. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
It was awesome.
But anyway, hopefully you don't have to get into arguments with people. It's generally not the way to go, especially during the era of filming everything and putting it online. So maybe.
But the thing was, if you push me, like she had 2 or 3 opportunities there to be polite and do the right thing, and she kept pushing me, and I was like, I'm not going to take this anymore. One more example, Alex. There's a fruit shop near our work, and sometimes I'll test people and pretend I can't understand. So they have these cups with cut fruit inside, and there was a Chinese woman in front of me, and she was like, "How much is this for one cup?" And she was like, 18 kwai. Oh, okay, cool. And then it was up to me, and then I just said in English, "How much is this?" And she was like, 30 kwai. I was like, oh my god. So then I just cracked straight in. Mandarin, 你不是刚刚说18块钱吗? And she was like, oh, 他那个质量比你的好多了. I was like,
you're lying? Yeah.
So don't go there, Alex. It's on a corner near our workplace. Anyway, I won't go more into this, but basically what I wanted to do was, when I first started at Shanghai Daily, I wanted to do some of these kind of investigative things and find who are ripping people off and stuff, but the bosses didn't like the idea, so we didn't do it. But yeah, anyway, you guys, I think that's all the content we have for now. We went off on a tangent. Do you have anything else, Alex, you want to talk about?
Not yet. Not right now. I mean to say. I guess we'll just have to keep paying attention to the way this is going. Like I say, it seems like we're gonna be able to regain some more freedom of movement here in the next few days. What that means and what it's worth, I'm not willing to put a gauge on that yet. But at least it's moving the ball in a positive direction rather than rolling it backwards. So I guess that would be my assessment of it so far.
Yeah, I think slowly, just watch how every day, what happens every day. Obviously, the public transport, I'm just bringing up the news from today, opening up is a good thing. It's a step in the right direction. But as we found out chatting with Yang Jian before, it is very slow opening up. And he said it's mainly aimed at people who need to go to hospital. So this is by no means a sign that we're heading back to work or anything just yet. Like you said before, we'll wait and see how it comes. June 1st to the middle of June, they said. So we'll see what happens there. We had a comment regarding that. Somebody asked, and I can't find it because there's so many comments. Thank you guys, by the way, for commenting so much. But somebody did ask how long will we continue with the live stream. At the moment, the plan is to keep doing it every day while we're still under lockdown. So we will probably around the 1st of June, we'll take another look and see what happens. But as I mentioned before, it is the 50th show today. So thank you guys for sticking with us. I just want to head along to my YouTube channel, which is Reports on China. Just to let you guys know that if you want to see any of our other streams, they are all here, as you can see. A huge list of our streams, all in a back catalog. So if you want to check out any of those, do head along to YouTube Reports on China. But yeah, we've gone on for too long today. So on that note, Alex, have a good evening, and everyone else, we'll see you same time tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Yep.